Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Watches TV, where I watch all the TV shows, I watch all the true crime, I watch all the reality shows, I watch all the Housewives, the Big Brother, the Sister Wives, I watch all the trending shows on Netflix and Apple and Paramount and Peacock and Max and everywhere else, and today I'm going to talk about the new TV show that just came out on Hulu last night at midnight, and that is The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So if you like to talk about TV shows, and you like to watch new TV shows and sometimes old TV shows, and have somebody to talk about it, why not subscribe and follow my channel? So, I'm over here typically about 5 days a week talking about TV shows, and I also have a shark movie club over here where we watch all the shark movies, the good ones, the bad ones, the stupid ones, the funny ones. We watch all of them over here. Okay, so I want to get into this show called The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Now, about a week ago or a couple days ago, my best friend texted me, and she sent me like a screenshot of this show coming out. And I think it was like 3 days ago. And she said, did you know that this was starting? Well, I had heard something about it, but I really didn't know much about it. Somebody had sent it to me in a DM or something like that about this show coming out because people knew that I was binge watching Sister Wives. I'm currently on season 13 of Sister Wives, and so I'm trying to make it through all 18 seasons before the premiere of season 19 next Sunday, the 15th. And so people knew that I was watching this. People knew that I watch Welcome to Plathville, and people know that I watch a lot of shows about fundamental religious groups or families. I watch a lot of those kinds of shows and documentaries. And so people thought that I might be interested in this. Plus, this is supposed to be like the hottest, newest reality TV show. It's kind of supposed to be like a religious, conservative group of women kind of meets the Real Housewives. It's supposed to be a little bit what it's supposed to be like. So anyway, I thought it was coming out that night, but it didn't come out until last night at midnight. So I was ready to watch it last night. I was really, really excited about it. I had to watch my movie for my other movie club, which is called Peter's Movie Club, which is on my Peter Does Stuff channel. So if you like to watch old nostalgic movies from the 60s all the way through the 2000s, go over there and check that channel out. I'm going to be announcing my new movie today for the next week that we're going to watch. It's one of my all-time favorites, but I watched that movie from this last week, and then I was like, okay, I want to start this Secret Lives of Mormon Wives show. And so I went in and I watched the first 2 episodes, and by that point it was like 5:30 in the morning, and I was like, I have to go to bed. So I took some notes. I have lots of things to say about this TV show. I don't really know where to start in talking about this, if you want to know the truth. Okay, so this show is about a group of women that are Mormon, and they live in Salt Lake City, and they were all what they term content creators. Now, I have to tell you, for those of you that don't know and have just watched this channel of mine, I have 7 YouTube channels, and one of my channels is a drama commentary channel where I talk about drama commentary with influencers, which I even think that word is phony, influencers and YouTubers, Instagrammers, TikTokers, things like that. And some of the words that they use in here are like so cringe to me just to even watch. Like, they're like, well, I've been creating content for 5 years, and I'm like, you make TikToks, okay? Creating content is kind of a stretch for me. Creating content for me is like, I don't know, a Pixar movie or something like that. Like, that's content, okay? Doing a dance in a 2-second TikTok, and I know that people want to take content creation very, very serious today. But, so anyway, so some of the words that they use are very cringe to me. I have to tell you that going into this, I don't watch TikTok. My husband watches TikTok, my cousin watches TikTok, a lot of people that I know, like, are on TikTok 24 hours a day. I hardly ever get on TikTok. The only time I get on TikTok is if somebody sends me something that I need to look at for a video, or if my husband sends me, a lot of people send me TikToks of like dog rescues and squirrels and stuff like that, because that's what I look at, but I hardly ever get on TikTok. And so, so I had never heard of this group of women before that apparently originated what was called MOMTOK. Now, I feel like I did hear of MOMTOK in watching some other drama commentary channels, but I didn't really know what MOMTOK was. And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I went into it. Now, I have to tell you, going into this, I watched a trailer of it. In the trailer of it, they talk about them being like MOMTOK influencers on TikTok and all this kind of stuff, but I thought they were just a bunch of moms that got together that happened to be Mormon. I didn't really know anything about it. But apparently what it is it's a group of women that have, like, were already, like, doing dance videos and other videos and things like that on TikTok. And they all got together to create TikTok videos together. And they started hashtag MOMTOK, T-O-K, so that they could kind of, like, fight the patriarchy of the Mormon church, which is very interesting to me when you go in and you watch this show, okay? So apparently that was kind of, like, their whole sole purpose. I'm sure somebody's going to educate me in the comment section below that it goes so much deeper than that. And to be honest with you, please do, but I really don't care, okay? I mean, it's really not that deep when it comes to this show. So I don't know what I really expected. The trailer looks like a lot of really, really wild young women that are kind of like, and I thought, oh, it's going to show a different side of, like, the Mormon church and things like that. Now, I think it's important to note that I watch a lot of documentaries about the LDS church. I watch a lot of documentaries about the FLDS church. I watch Sister Wives, which is a spinoff of both sects of the SECTS. They are called something that's called, like, AUR, I think, and they are like a spinoff of the LDS church and are not run by, like, Warren Jeffs and things like that. So I've watched a lot of documentaries. I've read a lot of articles about this. I know a lot about the Mormon church. I mean, I've watched the true crime documentaries about the Mormon church and the documents and the stolen documents, and I've watched it all. So, you know, I feel like at this point, and I just recently, honestly, I have a true crime book club, and so just recently we read the book, the Blood on the Moon or something like that. It was about Lori Vallow and her husband, and it talked a lot about the LDS church, of which they were both part of in there. And so it talked about, like, the triangle, the LDS church, and the hierarchy of the LDS church and all that kind of stuff. And so I was really educated on the backbone of how the LDS church is set up. So going into this, I already knew a lot about it. And what's interesting to me is that in watching a lot of this, and this comes up in the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City too, there's a lot of people that, it's interesting to me because it's like, no, we're the new wave of Mormons. No, you're fake Mormons that don't follow the religiosity that is doctrine of a church, you know? And so, and I know that some of the things that I'm going to say today are going to offend people, so I'm completely prepared for that. But I have some very strong takes on some of this stuff. So when I went in there and I started watching it, I really didn't know what to expect. So the whole show starts off with Taylor, who is kind of the original, well, she says she is, and the other girls say that they are. There's like, apparently there were 25 at one time, but this show just is really focusing on, like, 8 of them. And these 8 women all, like, have the same hairdos, wear the same clothes, have the same, like, wear the same makeup, have the same look. I mean, they basically, and they even say that. They even say in the show that, like, we all look exactly alike. They do. Like, their hair is all done the exact same way. They wear the exact same clothes. And that's kind of part of what they're doing. Like, one of the women in there says something about, like, we do what's trendy. Like, whatever look is trendy. I mean, they very much want to look like, and I don't know how much of this they contributed to it or if they came along later. I don't know. But they very much look like the young women that are famous on TikTok. That's what they look like. They look like the, you know, the hair parted down the middle. I mean, it all looks exactly like everybody that you've seen that got famous on TikTok. That's all I know how to say about it. But anyway, so I went in here and watched it. Now, here's a synopsis for it. All 8 episodes they released last night, and each episode is about 45 minutes. A group of Mormon mom influencers get caught in the midst of a swinging sex scandal that makes international headlines. Okay, so when you go into it, and I have a lot of notes about this, when you go into it, where are my notes? Here it is, Mom. Okay. Well, I have 2 notes because I have 2 videos that I might do about this, because this might turn into a drama video today because it's something that came out of this. So when you go into it, it starts with Taylor, and Taylor is talking about this video that she put out where it was like a TikTok live that she put out. And she's talking about, and it kind of all, like, split up at this point when it starts. And she's talking about how in this TikTok live that they were all, there was like a group of them. She doesn't say who they are. I kept on wondering, like, who are they? Like, you're showing like 8 women and all these women are saying they weren't part of it. Like, who is part of it? Was it the other 25 women that were part of it? I mean, who's part of this? Because she comes out and she says that she and her husband were part of this MOMTOK soft swinging group. And apparently soft swinging is when you do everything but penetration. And so they would go to these parties with all these MOMTOK people and their husbands, and then they would soft swing. And it was like, no, it was like open and knowing to everybody and whatever in this group. And hey, you do you, whatever, right? I just haven't, this is my issue, right? When you talk about a religious organization that is part of taking away the rights of other people like myself, LGBT people, or frown upon those human rights, and you hide behind this stage of being a conservative Mormon, which is what many of them say, and yet you talk mad shit behind people's backs, you are horrible to these women, you treat them horribly, you speak horribly about them, you hide secrets from each other, there's infidelity all over in the relationship, you don't adhere to the policies and the principles of the discipline and the doctrine that you say that you do, and so you, like, don't dress like you're supposed to, they all drink alcohol, they all party out, well, all of them except for one couple, they all party out of control. It's like, okay, so you pick and choose what parts of you that you want to be a Mormon, and I have issues with that. I take a lot of issues with that. I take a lot of issues with fundamental Christian organizations that want to be part of taking away the human rights of other human beings, and then they want to stand behind the righteousness of their religious group, and they don't even adhere to that religious group either, and they just say, oh, we're a new group of this. Well, that's not really how it works, okay? When you look into this, that's not how it works at all. In fact, this one girl, Taylor, is like, she's worried about getting excommunicated from the church. I'm like, you haven't followed anything from the church for years, and if you watch anything like Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, I mean, they talk in there about how easy it is to get divorced, you can get excommunicated from the church. So they're living their best life out online. I don't know how they would ever question that they wouldn't be excommunicated from the church. So for me, and you know what, and I just want to make this a very, very clear statement, and I say this in my drama videos, so for people that don't watch those, I have like lots of friends of mine that are Christian, and I have lots of friends of mine that are of other strong faiths. My mother was of a very strong faith. I don't believe being in a strong faith is just a foundation to adhere, you know, of believing that you are part of taking away somebody else's human rights. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there are several organizations out there, several religious groups that frown upon people like myself, a gay man, but then they don't follow any of the doctrine of their own religious group, but then they're like, ooh, about this. And this gets part of the show because she goes in there and she talks about, well, we'll get into that in just a second. So Taylor comes out, and Taylor starts talking about this scandal that she was in, or they start interviewing her about it, and she's kind of like the lead one in all of this. And she's talking about how she came out and she said that she took the soft swinging too far, and then she had an affair on her husband, and then she and her husband got divorced, and she's now single, but she's now dating this guy named Dakota that dipped into her DMs. dipped, I guess, into her DMs. And then, because they don't believe in sex before marriage either, but she is blatantly having sex before marriage because she gets pregnant. Oh, did you not know that you have to do it to get pregnant? So anyway, I mean, they even talk in there about how they thought that if they, but anyway, so, I mean, the show is not what I thought it was going to be, I'll be honest with you. It's either going to be like, and I've only watched 2 episodes, it's either going to be a mass phenomenon or it's going to be a total bust after 1 season, because I don't know that I'm really that invested in these women, if you want to know the truth, okay? I think that this is part of the problem with like TikTok to other platforms, that I'm not necessarily sure that what is really popular like on TikTok translates to reality TV. In all honesty, when I was watching this, of all of the women, okay, that I watched, I thought they were rather vapid, rather superficial, uninteresting. I didn't really think that it showed anything about their real lives. I mean, it showed segments of, like, them holding their kids and stuff like that, but it's really about the fighting of the MOMTOK women. And to me, it's like you're not even letting us get to know them as women whatsoever, and I don't know if that's in the edit, but it doesn't translate well as me wanting to be invested. I'll be honest with you, like, I mean, there's like, I mean, the girls' names are like Taylor, Macy, Mackenzie. I mean, it's like, I can't even like keep up with what the girls' names are, and they all look the same, and I'm like, they come on and I'm like, is this Jen, or is this Mackenzie, or McKelty? Oh, but McKelty's from Sister, I mean, like, I can't keep these, I mean, they all look the same to me. They all look exactly the same to me. I can't keep any of them straight. So anyway, she goes on there, and then she's talking to her mom, this Taylor girl, and her mom is saying that, she's like, I think you need to, like, get to know this guy and date him a little bit longer, this Dakota guy. And she's like, I'm sorry, but don't you think that it's a mom's job just to support you? No, Taylor, a mom's job is to tell you the things that nobody else will. That's what being a real mom, that's what being a good mom is called, okay? When she doesn't just co-sign your bullshit because she wants you to pay her bills from your MOMTOK. but when she's actually willing to tell you the things that you need to hear. And she's saying to you, she wishes that you would take some time to heal, and you obviously need that time to heal because you seem a bit unhinged in the first episode. Now, from the first episode to the second episode, there's about a 7-month gap. Because at the end of the first episode, she has a miscarriage, and then at the second episode, she comes back and she's pregnant again, and she's having a baby shower. She's literally like 8 months pregnant. So in the second episode, like 6 to 8 months have gone by. So I'm really unsure as to why they took so long to film in between there. But anyway, then it's about this girl, Whitney. Now, she was like, the whole show is going to be about this, okay? It's going to be about Mean Girl versus Mean Girl. And the Mean Girls are Taylor and Whitney. And they're like the alpha dogs of the MOMTOK, okay? But all of them are so obsessed with, is this interfering with MOMTOK? Is MOMTOK going to come back? What are we going to do about MOMTOK? We need to have our brand deals. And then they, like this one scene in the kitchen, they're like, who of us is the breadwinners from MOMTOK? And they're like, all of us? And then they talk about brand deals and whatever. But this Whitney girl, she moved to Hawaii, and they think that she moved to Hawaii because Taylor came out about the swinger scandal, and they're like that she wasn't in the swinger scandal. They don't any of them say who was in the swinger scandal. Does that come out in the next 6 episodes? I hope so, because I'm sitting there watching it and going, I know it wasn't just Taylor and her ex-husband that were in the swinging scandal. Can somebody come out and talk about this, please? Because there's got to be more to it than that. But with the swinging scandal came out that Whitney's husband, Whitney Levitt, that is her name, her husband, Connor, okay, was in a Tinder scandal. And the scandal was that people were seeing him on Tinder. But then she came out and said that they took his Facebook page from high school and they used it to put him up on Tinder, okay? And I'm like, oh, this is interesting to me, right? That was just like, and she just kind of like wrote it off like that. I'm like, this is really, really interesting to me, right? I'll tell you why it's interesting to me, because I have my picture and my likeness used all the time, okay? I actually have a tab on my Instagram that's called fakes for all the time that people have used my picture for fakes. When I have had situations where I have had, like, daughters and sons reach out to me and say that their mother is, like, interacting with this person and giving them tons of money and blah, 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 whatever, I'm like, there's been a few occasions where it's gotten to a really bad point, and I'm like, well, it's not me, and they're like, well, they don't believe it's not you. I'm telling you right now, even with them, and I would do it every single time for my husband, I'm like, okay, well, put me on the phone with them. I've even had phone calls with some of these women, and I've said, call them up right now. Call this man up right now and have them put me on the phone. I'm like, I will prove that this is not who I am. So it's interesting to me that they just kind of like, you know, hide it away. Well, really what they moved to Hawaii for was that he was actually talking on Tinder. He was talking to women and he was exchanging pictures, nude pictures with these women. And I'm like, wait a second now. Wait a second now, Sam and Nia from the Ashley Madison documentary. What? Oh, wait, and this gets better. It's been happening since they got married. This man that she puts in every fucking TikTok with her, okay? I just went and looked through her Instagram last night. He's literally like in like 6 out of the last 8 TikToks. And I'm not saying that marriage can't improve. I hope it can. They haven't gotten to the part where they're talking about marriage counseling yet. He said in one scene, he's like, I'm working on myself. Can you define what that means? If y'all are going to throw this out there, can you talk about what working on yourself means? Okay, so I'm like, this is like Sam and Nia from the Ashley Madison documentary. Whitney, you alone need your own documentary, okay? Because later you fully violate FTC guidelines and admit it to the entire world that you violated FTC guidelines. But that might be my drama video today, girl, okay? So I'm watching this, and they're having this conversation. He's like, well, I feel so bad. And she's like, how will we ever go back to the church? And I'm like, oh my God, here we go with the church shit again, right? Okay, so this ideology of you have to be perfect for the church, but then hiding behind the fact that we're all sinners. Why would it matter if you went back to church when your husband was cheating on you? Because isn't that what you're going to church for? Is because you're all sinners and you just want to be relieved of your sins and try to grow as a human being? But all these people are afraid to show up to church because they don't come across as perfect. It's bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit, right? This is the hypocrisy that I cannot stand. And when I watch these religious shows, I mean, it's very similar to me like with Welcome to Plathville. It's like they cast so much judgment on the world and then they don't follow any of their own rules that they live by, you know? And then they're like, and the Lord says, and the Lord says, I'm like, okay, I don't think this is what the Lord says, all right? But you speak for God, okay? Because apparently you have that power. So anyway, I'm watching this and then she comes out and she like sits all the women down, right? And she's like, I've got to tell you the real reason that we left, and it was about the Tinder thing. And she goes, so Connor, that's her husband, he has a porn addiction. I'm like, what, girl? What in the Tinder hell does porn addiction have to do with him? So she goes on and she talks about he has this porn addiction, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, right? Because then we can have sympathy for it. Like, if you have an addiction, if it's a porn addiction, listen, as a person in recovery, I feel, right? If you got a porn addiction, like, that's on a whole other level. But then she says he's been talking to women since they've been married and exchanging nude pictures with him. Girl, I don't know if you know or not, okay? But that is not porn addiction. That is having an affair. That is cheating, honey, okay? That is called cheating on you, all right? And anybody that's ever had it done to them will tell you it is the biggest betrayal that you have ever felt in the entire world. And I feel for you, girl, okay? I feel for you. I feel for you that your husband has been cheating on you since you got married. I think you deserve a lot more than that. I really do, okay? But part of what you deserve is that your own confidence to know that this is not simply a porn addiction. This is about your man having full-on conversations with other women, reaching out to them, sending nude pictures, and them sending back. It's a very intimate relationship. It's not just about him Googling something like, Mormon moms I want to fuck and jacking off in a bathroom. It's not, okay? So let's not dumb it down to that. Let's not dumb it down to that. He's having a full-on affair, okay? So anyway, she goes into all this kind of stuff. This girl that is constantly coming for this Taylor girl won't show up to her bridal shower because she goes, oh, she got arrested for this kind of all kind of stuff. So it goes into all that kind of stuff, right? And I'm like watching this and I'm like, this is seriously like the Ashley Madison documentary. I did a whole video over here about it, but if you watched it, what was so baffling to me was Sam and Nia, this Christian family vlogging channel. Here we go again, right? This Christian family vlogging channel that he like was talking to her best friend, she lost her best friend because he was hitting on her. And he's having all these affairs and talking to these women, and he's like, but God will save me from all. I mean, it's always that, right? Like, you don't have to do the work, right? Speaking of, as a person in recovery, there's this joke that I love, okay? Well, it's a joke parable that we learned in recovery, and it goes like this, right? This guy's drowning in the middle of the ocean, okay? And he's like, God, save me, God, save me. And this boat comes along, and it's got these people in it, and they're like, get in the boat, we'll save you. And he's like, no, I'm praying to God, God will save me, and the boat goes by. So he's like drowning, and he's like, God, save me, God, save me. And an ambulance comes over and puts down a ladder, and not an ambulance, a helicopter comes over and puts down a ladder, and they're like, climb up the ladder, we'll save you, we'll save you. And he's like, no, God will save me, God will save me. And he drowns and he dies and he goes to heaven. And he's standing there before God and he's like, God, I loved you. I prayed for you to save me. And he's like, you didn't save me. And God goes, I sent a boat. I sent a helicopter. What more did you want from me? This is exactly that mentality, right? It's like you use God as an excuse. And now you have women that are using God. Okay, what is the one part that they say on here? God, make me, where is it at? Hold on a second. They go and they do this TikTok, and the TikTok is, Dear Lord, make me the biggest, Dear Lord, they're praying in this TikTok, okay? So at one point, they're also making fun of the scandal. They're also making fun of their godliness, of their holiness, and they do this thing where they're all praying together, and they say, Dear Lord, make me the biggest star the world has ever known. That's kind of sacrilege, if you want to know how I feel about it, okay? So then you got this Ashley Madison bullshit, Nia Sam, Christian family vlogging channels that want to hide behind it. She does this TikTok where she's showing the temple, all this kind of stuff, but then they make fun of it. I mean, it's just so sick to me. And they're using the religiosity to get brand deals, okay? I mean, I'm like, this show is unhinged, and I kind of can't stop watching it because it's like such a train wreck. But I don't know that I have that kind of investment in it to watch 2 seasons. I'll watch 1 season of it, but I don't know that I'll watch 2 seasons of it to tell you the truth, right? I mean, like, I'm sitting here and I'm watching this, I'm like, they should have called this show Fake Mormons, because these women, all with the exception of like 1 or 2 of them, are all like completely fake Mormons, all of them, right? And it's like, I mean, this Whitney girl, like when she shows up at her new house that she and her husband buy sight unseen to move back to, they like are like, oh, somebody sent us champagne. We've never had champagne. She's like, I've never had alcohol. Should we cheers to it? And so they're acting all prim and proper, right? And I'm like, later in the show, she says about this Taylor girl, she's like, we're like licking her ass while she's pissing on us at the same time. I'm like, oh, okay, girl. I guess that's how Mormons talk to each other. And your husband's crying a river on the couch while he's getting somebody's coochie up on his camera on his phone, okay? But you want to hide behind this, I'm a good Mormon, and now you're casting judgment on your friend Taylor. But if you were really a good Christian, wouldn't that be about forgiveness and understanding? And I mean, all the other girls said it. They all said, I think that it's what we're here for is to support one another. But this Whitney girl, she can't do it. So anyway, so I'm going in and I'm watching all this kind of stuff. I mean, they speak so foul to each other, okay? Their language is like off the charts foul, right? And they all seem really, really young, too. They're all between, like, 27 and 30. And they all have, like, a couple kids. They're all married. They, like, emotionally, developmentally, seem about 14 to me. I mean, they seem like a bunch of 14-year-old girls doing TikToks to me. And maybe that's part of it. It's like they're reclaiming their power and whatever. But at the same time, they're talking about all these $20,000 to $50,000 brand deals they're getting. One about a dildo. Okay, Whitney goes in this whole thing about this brand deal. And they're like, well, I would do it, but I wouldn't do it for $20,000. I would do it for $50,000. This one girl's like, I would only do it for $100,000. So let's make this very, very clear, okay? What you're saying is you wouldn't do the brand deal because you don't believe in the product enough unless you were paid enough money. Okay, well that's a violation. That's an FTC violation. You can't do that. And y'all admitted to it on this camera that you take brand deals of things that you don't believe in. That's called misinformation. Okay, you're doing negligent reviews and you're pushing and endorsing products you don't even believe in. Okay, so for me, I just was like, I can't believe that this is actually going on. But that will be on my drama channel video in case you want to know more about that. Okay. So then this Taylor, they bring in her boyfriend, Dakota, and they're sitting at this sushi restaurant, and she says that, she's like, I always thought that you looked just like a Jake Gyllenhaal. And I'm like, Jake who? Now, I just watched Presumed Innocent, okay? I've seen Brokeback Mountain my fair share of times, okay? That man don't look nothing like Jake Gyllenhaal's left toe, okay? He don't look nothing like that, man. I'm like, what is going, who? And he's like telling her all this kind of stuff. I'm like, you might look like, I don't know, like Sheena Shea's fourth cousin, maybe, girl, okay, because of your hairdo or something. So weird. Then she goes in there, she's talking to her mom about how, or somebody about her friend about how they got into fights because he doesn't drink because he's sober, of which her mom says he's an addict and kind of puts him down for that. And so I thought that was kind of interesting dynamic, and I was like, he's an addict, like active addict. He's in recovery. Like, the man is in recovery, this Dakota guy, right? And so then she tells her friend that they got into these fights because she gets real drunk, right? This good Mormon girl that wants to go back to the church. She does go back to the church in the second episode, right? But then it flashes forward to, she's like, well, I might want to get drunk tonight or something like that. Then it flashes forward to them, like, having the police called on their house for domestic violence, and she gets arrested. And she gets arrested for aggravated assault and gets 3 years of probation. I mean, that's pretty serious. That means there probably has to be some priors there if she got arrested for that. And then it goes in and talks about her miscarriage, that she and Dakota really wanted to have this baby, blah, blah, blah. And then she's pregnant again, and that goes into episode 2. But I am so long-winded in this. I think I'm going to end it here because I got more notes about episode 2. I got all the shit they talk about behind each other's backs. I mean, all this kind of stuff. They all constantly are making fun of, like, they always are saying, like, first of all, it's constant talk about MOMTOK. We got to get back to MOMTOK. We got to get back to what the real thing is because we got to get brand deals. And brands, well, it's creating content and brand deals. They are all just so phony and superficial. I'll be honest with you, like, when you watch The Real Housewives, people can equally say the same thing. Oh, they all carry Louis Vuitton and Gucci and Prada and Loewe or whatever, you know, and all this kind of stuff. They could say all that, you know, all that kind of stuff about them. And that's true. But they do show some depth to the women on The Real Housewives, or there wouldn't be that investment. There's no investment here. Other than this show is going to be about Whitney against Taylor. And that's what the whole show is going to be about. And I'm kind of here for it for 1 season, but I don't know if I'm here for it for 2. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.